No data, no problem. With the lowest data rates in the country, have extra fun with SLT Extra GB.
For more details, call 1212.
Tonight, English garbage. Controversy hits as containers full of foreign waste raise concerns. A hit to a staple. Bread prices hiked from midnight. Another inspection. A UN Special Rapporteur expected in Sri Lanka to assess rights to freedom of peaceful assembly. Wielding the axe. Minister of Sports wants national cricket team's coaching staff to resign. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Wednesday, the 17th of July, 2019.
මුහුණ සති කීපයකට කලින් Fair and Lovely men ගෑවට පස්සේ මාක්ස් අඩු වෙලා ෆෑනස් වැඩි වෙලා.
මාක්ස් අඩු කරලා ඔයාගේ ෆෑනස් ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක වැඩි කරගන්න. Fair and Lovely men anti-marks cream.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanaga. Let's start with your local stories. President Maithripala Sirisena has been battling the elements which are intent on putting an end to his plans of implementing the death penalty on drug traffickers, with several petitions also being filed in court seeking to prevent 4 death warrants already signed by the presidents from being followed through. A private member's bill was tabled in Parliament in a bid to abolish the death penalty altogether. President Sirisena, however, believes that if the bill becomes an act, it could also prevent action from being taken against perpetrators of the Easter attacks as well. The event to unveil the newly constructed Sacred Relics Chamber, Sermon Chamber and the library at the Palanda Temple was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday. Only 5 of 6 months of my tenure is left and I'm yet to be accused of physically attacking any person or property. I'm accused and insulted because I'm not a person who resorts to such things to get revenge from those who do. Hypothetically, if I'm a person who hurts those insulting me by directing the PSD to mete out retribution, no one would insult me because they know I'll hurt them in return. But I'm not of that character. I should also mention that a faction in the government is going to bring an act in Parliament against the execution of the death penalty. If the law of this country is changed through a new act brought to Parliament, we won't be able to take action against the perpetrators of the Easter Sunday attacks either. Now, the All Ceylon Customs Services Union today brought to light the matter of 102 containers full of garbage being docked at the Colombo port. These containers are from England and they contain items disposed from hospitals. Following an inspection, the Central Environmental Authority concluded that this waste is dangerous for both the environment and humans and therefore had instructed Sri Lanka Customs to return the garbage containers to England as soon as possible. Sri Lanka Customs identified 102 containers of garbage from England, which also include medical waste. They are currently docked at the Colombo International Container Terminals. These had been imported back in 2017. Another 120 such garbage containers have left the port. These containers are free from limitations of the Customs Ordinance, Exchange Control Act, as well as Imports and Export Control Act. So, Sri Lanka Customs can't get involved in this. These garbage containers are piled at the relevant hub area of the Katunayaka Free Trade Zone. Both former and current leaders of the country are responsible for this. The President, as the Minister of Environment, must now pay attention to the matter. Meanwhile, the Central Environmental Authority inspected the garbage piles at the Katunayaka Free Trade Zone today. This company in question functions as a re-export company within Sri Lanka. A month ago, we first searched the containers at the port. We found that the waste was disposed from hospitals. They included items such as hospital mattresses and carpets. We decided that this waste could have an impact on the environment as well as humans because Sri Lanka doesn't have the ability to manage such garbage or dispose such waste. We then informed the Sri Lanka Customs to export these containers back to the country they came from. Then 130 garbage containers, which are currently at the Katunayaka Free Trade Zone, were received in 2017. This company had reprocessed 58 of these containers and exported to other countries. There's only about 70 of these containers in the country at present, but this waste includes domestic mattresses as well as carpets used domestically as well as in vehicles. The All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association has decided to increase the price of a loaf of bread weighing 450 grams by 5 rupees following the wheat flour price hike. The measure will come into effect this midnight. The association also says that the prices of other bakery goods will too be increased owing to the new development. Prima Ceylon Private Limited increased the price of a kilogram of wheat flour by 8 rupees, while Serendip Flour Mills Private Limited also hiked their price by 7 rupees with effect from midnight on Monday. As a result, the All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association decided to increase the price of a loaf of bread weighing 450 grams by 5 rupees. The Executive Committee of the All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association decided to increase the price of a loaf of bread by 5 rupees. This price hike will come into effect by midnight today. We also request bakery owners across the island to increase prices of other bakery goods by a reasonable level. This new development, however, is not welcomed by certain factions, including the Foundation for People's Rights Protection, which argues that there are loaves of bread sold in the market that weigh less than the stipulated weight. From tomorrow, it must be ensured that a loaf of bread is of the stipulated weight. This loaf only weighs 350 grams and it costs 80 rupees. Meanwhile, the Consumer Affairs Authority has also decided to take legal action against flour companies which initiated the price hike without seeking permission from the authority. Such a price hike cannot be done without the permission of the Consumer Affairs Authority because wheat flour is considered an essential food item. Our Act allows us to take legal action against these flour companies and those who sell wheat flour at a higher rate. We are already taking necessary action in this regard. Budget promises beyond Parliament. Sri Lanka's first online budget promise tracker reveals that out of the budget promises, they tracked only 26% of the promises are fulfilled in the year of 2018. The online platform launched by Verite Research reveals that 10 out of the 21 government institutions from which they sought information did not reveal information regarding their budget spendings. Sri Lanka's first online budget promise tracker, Budget Promises Beyond Parliament, developed by Verite Research, was launched in Colombo in October of 2017. Online platform of the Verite Research aimed to track the status of implementation of budget promises as well as the openness of government providing relevant information. The platform is updated twice a year and assesses each of these promises using 2 indicators. Accordingly, it recently released data pertaining to the budget promises in the year 2018. The website analysed a budget worth 149.39 billion rupees and 38 budget promises delivered in the budget speech, tracking 21 government institutions. Analyst of Verite Research, Hasna Munas, spoke to First at 9 about the revelations of the tracker.
Our key findings, we'll talk about progress first. So what we found for the 38 promises is that actually 10 of the promises have been fulfilled. So the progress has been 80% or more. That's how we define fulfilled. Another 8 promises, there has been substantial progress. That is progress more than 66%. Another 8 promises, it's been partially done, which is progress between about 33% to 66%. And then there are actually another 10 promises. We can't say what has been done there because we didn't actually get information. And that leads to the openness aspect of the tracker, which I think is the most important aspect, because even if the government isn't actually doing what it said in the budget speech, there could be valid reasons for why that's so, but they need to tell us. We found that in the case of many of our promises, Without filing an RTI, we couldn't actually get any information. And even after filing an RTI, that is under the right to request under the Right to Information Act, overall, only 2 agencies were proactive about what they did in terms of the promises. Basically, that means that they shared the information online. Around 7 agencies didn't give us any information at all.
Munas went on to reveal the most open as well as the most uncooperative government institutions in terms of revealing data pertaining to budget expenditure.
So the most open government agency is actually the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development. What we mean by most open is that they actually shared all the information about their promises or their proposals that were in the budget. They made it available online and they put it on their website. We could find their action plans and progress reports. We didn't actually have to even call them up and ask. So they were already there on the website. Alternatively, when you look on the other side, the most closed agencies are the ones that actually didn't share any information with us at all. Even after we contacted them directly and we filed requests for information under the RTI Act, we didn't get any information. And these were the Ministry of Housing, Construction and Cultural Affairs, the Ministry of I think higher education. Basically, we see that agencies tend to be less open than more.
Although over half of the year 2019 has gone by, only 10 out of the 38 budget promises of the year 2018 have been fulfilled. This only raises questions of the reasons behind the non-cooperative nature of government institutions, as well as leaving the public wondering whether the budget speech actually carry any gravity. Now, the Department of Meteorology issued red warnings today over the high possibility of increased wind speeds and very rough sea conditions off the coast from Mannar to Pothuil. These conditions are said to prevail across the next few days. That said, a drought is also experienced in several provinces of the country. The Department of Meteorology issued high-risk or red warnings over the high possibility of increased wind speeds up to 70 to 80 km per hour and very rough seas off the coast extending from Mannar to Pothuil via Putlam, Galle and Hambantota. These unfavourable sea conditions are expected to prevail until the early hours of coming Saturday. The Met Department also issued moderate risk or amber warnings over the possibility of surges due to swell waves off the coast extending from Putlam to Hambantota via Colombo and Galle. These waves, 2.5 to 3.5 metres in height, will be far from shore and will last until Saturday.
For the moment, the meteorological department that they have warned over the strong winds in the sea areas from Mannar to Pothuil via Putlam and Colombo and Galle area. So these sea areas would be very rough. Fishermen and the naval communities are thoroughly advised to refrain from fishing and doing the naval activities in the particular sea areas.
Warnings of the Met Department come in a backdrop where drought conditions are experienced in certain areas of the island.
Drought situation still prevailing in the northern province and the eastern province and some other districts as well. More than 550,000 been affected with the dry weather situation. The funds already been released to the district secretaries and more than 600 water houses been deployed for the mission. So any queries people can access via 117 call center number. Still, the agriculture damages and other things will be coordinated by the agriculture sector.
UN Special Rapporteur Clement Nyoletsozivul is set to visit Sri Lanka tomorrow to assess rights to freedom of special assembly and association in the country. The Special Rapporteur will arrive in the country and will remain until the 26th. Will said, quote, "We have seen a commendable effort to expand civil space in Sri Lanka, the establishment of strong and independent institutions and noticeable strides towards truth and reconciliation in the country," unquote. The Special Rapporteur will visit Colombo along with provinces in the north, south and east of the country. During his 9-day visit, the expert will meet with government officials, representatives of the judiciary, legislature, media, civil society and trade unions, as well as with Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka. He will also meet representatives of the United Nations system and other international organizations, along with other stakeholders in the country. Will said he would assess a number of issues related to the rights of freedom of peaceful assembly and association, including their intersection with implementation of 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, limitations placed on these rights in the context of counter-terrorism and emergency legislation, and the exercise of these rights in online spaces. The signals coming from the two camps hoping to form an alliance, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, do not suggest that there would be a consensus in the near future. General Secretary of the SLFP, MP Sri Lanka, says their party is not ready to support a presidential candidate nominated by the SLPP. His comments come as UPFA parliamentarian Arundika Fernando is of the staunch belief that it is futile to hold discussions with the SLFP.
The
SLFP followers on the ground level are divided now, and they say that if we don't unite, the party will be destroyed. Some say that they will nominate a candidate and ask us to join. Neither the SLFP nor the SLPP can decide the presidential candidate on their own. We are ready to join a good discussion and come to a decision about the candidate and help him win. We will have to take our own decision if they decide the candidate on their own and ask us to join during the latter part of the campaign. If the SLPP can win on their own, they can do that. They don't need to discuss with us. They want to discuss because they know that they can't win on their own. We too want discussions because we know that we can't win on our own either. We held discussions with the SLFP recently. The request of the SLFP is to give the candidacy to President Sirisena. President Sirisena can rectify the mistakes he made by paving the way for a leader sought out by the people of this country. But we think that the President is not free to make such a decision with members like Sri Lanka. Therefore, I think that those discussions will not be successful at all. Moving on with other local stories, the Colombo Fort Magistrate has rejected the anticipatory bail application filed by Secretary of the National Police Commission Saman Dissanayake requesting to release him on bail if he was arrested over the Avant-Garde floating armoury case. The Colombo Fort Magistrate Ranga Dissanayake said that the court has no jurisdiction to grant bail to Dissanayake, who was named as a suspect in the Avant-Garde floating armoury case, as indictments are to be filed against him under Firearms Ordinance. The Attorney General on the 5th of July had instructed the acting IGP to immediately arrest Chairman of Avant-Garde Maritime Services Private Limited Nissanka Senadipati and 7 others, including the Secretary of the NPC. The acting IGP was further instructed to file charges against them under the Firearms Ordinance and to produce them before court. The Secretary of the NPC had filed for anticipatory bail on the 8th of July. Now, Sri Lankans witnessed the last partial eclipse of the year last night. The eclipse was seen in a number of countries in African, North American, European and Asian continents. It began at 12:13 this morning with the moon entering into the penumbra of the Earth's shadow and ended at 5:47 a.m. The visible part of the partial eclipse began at 1:31 a.m. when the moon entered into the umbra, which is the dark part of the Earth's shadow, and it ended when the moon left the umbra at 4:29 a.m. About 65% of the moon's surface was covered by the dark shadow of the Earth around the greatest eclipse at 3 a.m. According to the Astronomy and Space Science Unit of the University of Colombo, such an eclipse can only be seen by naked eye once again in 2021. A new Chancellor was appointed to the University of Ruhuna today, with Chief Sanganayaka of the Western Province, Venerable Dr. Akurettiye Nandathera, being appointed to the post. The Thera received his letter of appointment from President Maithripala Sirisena at the President's office. We got more news coming up on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka and EDOTCO Sri Lanka, which is an integrated telecommunications infrastructure services company, entered into an agreement today to invest in the latest smart city solutions and energy efficient systems toward further developing the country's connectivity landscape. Issuing a media communique, the BOI said that under the agreement, the BOI grants EDOTCO Sri Lanka the approval to deploy urban smart solutions throughout the country over the next 3 years. Furthermore, a key part of this project will see the deployment of 1,000 multipurpose smart poles throughout the country. The communique goes on to say that the smart urban connectivity systems will not only serve as sharing infrastructure for mobile network operators, but will also come with integrated security and surveillance features, advertising space, environmental information sources, smart street lights, smart parking, and even natural disaster monitoring systems. Christine Lagarde submitted her formal resignation as the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund yesterday, with her 8-year tenure officially coming to an end on the 12th of September. Following Lagarde's announcement, the IMF Executive Board said that it will promptly initiate the process of selecting its next Managing Director. Lagarde's resignation came after she was nominated for the presidency of the European Central Bank earlier this month as part of the European Union leaders' agreement on the future leadership of the top EU institutions. She then decided to temporarily step down from the IMF leadership during the nomination period. The 63-year-old French national would become the first woman to lead the ECB. On the 5th of July 2011, Lagarde became the 11th Managing Director of the IMF and was the first woman to hold that position. And now to give you a market update, the Sri Lankan shares rose for the 6th straight session today to hit a more than 3-month closing high. The all-share price index gained more like 1.04% to 5,645.65, its highest close since April 4th, and the index rose 1% last week, its third consecutive weekly gain. The stock market's turnover was 737.2 million rupees, more than this year's daily average of about 610.6 million rupees. We now have Hiruni Pereira from First Capital Holdings with a brief report.
Both capital market continue to generate positive returns during the day. Bond market witnessed selling interest from both local and foreign counterparties, mainly on short-term maturities. At the weekly bill auction, 3 months, 6 months and 1 year accepted at weighted average of 7.99, 8.09 and 8.46 respectively, with 1 year bill falling to a near 3.5-year low, falling below SLFR for the first time in 4 years. Equity market with SPI was mainly driven by price appreciation in John Keells and Dialogue. A net foreign outflow was witnessed during the day with low foreign participation.
Now to take a look at the currency, the Sri Lankan rupee ended steady today, closing at 175 rupees and 65 to 75 cents against the US dollar, compared with Monday's close of 175 rupees and 65 to 75 cents, as importer demand for the greenback offset the dollar's selling by banks. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day. We're going to move in for a very short break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at what's happening around the world. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now let's take a look at what's happening around the world. Chief economics commentator of the Financial Times, Martin Wolf, believes developed countries should move away from the US dollar. He says that since the US has great influence over other countries owing to the dollar's strength, it corners countries to an uncomfortable position where they have to fall in line with the US.
Yeah, obviously the role of the dollar in the world financial system gives the United States enormous leverage, political leverage, because it can threaten countries that don't do what it wants. The obvious example is the sanctions against Iran, when the United States pulled out of the agreement on arms control agreement with Iran. They forced others to follow because of the immense importance of the US markets and the importance of the US dollar for payments and for the financial system. And the result of that was that everybody in the West had to agree with them. That's a very, very uncomfortable. I think the other developed countries, the Europeans, should move away from the dollar.
Now, Iran has rejected suggestions that it is willing to discuss its missile program with the US. A spokesman for Iran's UN mission said the weapons are absolutely and under no condition negotiable. His denial comes after Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif suggested in an interview that the missiles could be up for discussion if sanctions are lifted. The US unilaterally withdrew from a landmark 2015 nuclear deal last year and reimposed tight restrictions. In response, Iran announced this month that it has surpassed limits on enriched uranium imposed in the agreement. The country insists it is not trying to build a nuclear weapon. Now, Elon Musk's startup Neuralink is aiming to connect the human brain with a machine interface before the end of next year. Speaking at a conference in San Francisco, Musk presented version 1 of his neuron-sized threads and microprocessor chips that he claims will help people with severe brain injuries and eventually grow to allow humans to connect with advancing artificial intelligence technology. Musk says the implementation of the threads are a tenth of the size of a human hair and require the use of a special robot, but a minimally invasive surgery.
This, I think, has a very good purpose, which is to cure important diseases and ultimately to help secure humanity's future as a civilization relative to AI. The threads are very tiny, and there's a lot of them, and they're very carefully placed. And the operation on a per chip basis, it involves just a 2 millimeter incision, which is dilated to 8 millimeters. The chip is placed through that, and then it goes back to being 2 millimeters, and you can basically glue it shut. You don't even need a stitch. So, and then the interface to the chip is wireless. So you have no wires poking out of your head. Very, very important. So it's basically Bluetooths to your phone. Because we'll have to watch the App Store updates for that one. Make sure we don't have a driver issue. This, I think, has tremendous potential, and we hope to have this aspirationally in a human patient before the end of next year. So this is not far.
On to cricket now. Minister of Sports Harin Fernando has requested Sri Lanka cricket in writing that all coaches of the national team step down following the Bangladesh tour. The minister explained this decision during an event in Colombo today.
මම ශමි සිල්ලම එතුමාට දුරකථනයෙන් අමතලා එතුමාට ලිපියකුත් ඇරියා. මම එතුමාට කිව්වා ඕනම පුහුණුකරු වෙට්ටක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ KPI එක. Tamanට දෙන්න ඕනේ ඉලක්කයක්. ඉලක්කයෙන් වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ 100%ක රැඳෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැති වුණොත් ඒ කට්ටිය අයින් කරන්න. නිසා අපි අද තීරණයක් ගත්තා බංග්ලාදේශ සංචාරයෙන් පස්සේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ සියලුම පුහුණුකරු ජාතික කණ්ඩායමේ එතුමාලට නැවත වතාවක් අයින් වෙලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ රීඅපොයින්ට්මන්ට් එකට නෙගෝෂিয়েට් කරන්න කියලා. ඉතින් මෙහෙම වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේ. අපි මම ඕක ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා වෙනස් කරන්න කියලා ජනතාව කිව්වට ලෝක කුසලානයක් අත ළඟ තියාගෙන වෙනස් කිරීම කරන්නට බෑ. ඒ නිසා මේක එතන ඔබතුමාලේකට අපිට සහයෝගය දෙයි.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.